In a quiet town nestled between gentle hills and the shimmering stillness of a lake, there lived a couple who, to the world, seemed like a dream spun in silk and gold. Clara and Daniel had been married for 5 years, and from the outside, their love appeared timeless, strong, serene, and inspiring. Clara was a vision of light, her laughter capable of melting even the coldest of silences. Her presence filled a room like warm sunlight creeping through old windows. Daniel, on the other hand, was quiet and steadfast, a man whose love didn't shout but whispered its loyalty through thoughtful gestures and unwavering presence. They were the kind of pair people pointed to when they wanted to believe in true love, the kind that made others sigh and say, asterisk, that's what I want someday. Asterisk in Daniel. Oh, he believed he had it. A love that would last forever. A wife who adored him as much as he adored her. He believed in Clara with the kind of blind trust that only comes from a soul deeply rooted in love. But love, when based on illusion, is nothing more than a beautiful house built on sand. Clara had always been effortlessly charming. She possessed an intoxicating grace, a way with words that could pierce through armor. She told Daniel she loved him in soft whispers before bed, in playful texts during the day, and in glances across crowded rooms. She wrapped him in reassurances, sweet nothings that painted pictures of forever. Daniel, a man who never asked for much, received it all with open arms and an open heart. He never once questioned her fidelity. Why would he, when every gesture seemed so genuine? But behind Clara's delicate smiles and warm embraces lived a truth, so cold it could freeze the sun. While she whispered promises of eternity to Daniel, she was wrapped in the arms of another man, Victor. Victor, the storm to Daniel's calm. A man who lived with reckless abandon, who carried danger like perfume, intoxicating and bold. He was thrilling, unpredictable, and exactly the kind of flame that drew Clara closer with every breath. Their affair was not a fleeting mistake. It was a wildfire hidden beneath the foliage of Clara's double life. For months, she met Victor in shadowy corners of the town, in hotel rooms dimmed by secrecy, in whispers exchanged through phone screens. She would return home flushed with guilt and adrenaline, slipping seamlessly back into the skin of the devoted wife. Her lies became her reality, layered so thick that even she began to believe the fiction she'd written. But Daniel wasn't blind. He started noticing the faintest cracks in their flawless mirror. Her touch, once tender and present, grew distant and hurried. Her smile, once effortless, now seemed rehearsed. She avoided his eyes, dodged his questions, and disappeared for hours with vague excuses. Daniel's heart, once so full, began to tremble with quiet suspicion. He didn't want to believe it. Not as Clara. Not the woman he loved more than anything. So he buried his doubts under the weight of trust, hoping he was simply imagining the shift in her. But love can only silence doubt for so long. One evening, while Clara was away, again, Daniel sat in the quiet hush of their living room, the clock ticking louder than ever. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. A message, and then another. His eyes, heavy with dread, fell on the screen. Victor, the name hit him like a stone. With a hand trembling more from heartbreak than fear, he picked up the device. He knew he shouldn't look, but he had to. Each message he read was like a slow, precise cut. They weren't just flirtations. They were confessions of passion, of longing, of a love that didn't belong to him. Words that Clara had once said to him now belonged to another man. Except this time, they burned with a fire Daniel had never known from her. The world around him blurred, as if everything he knew had just collapsed in on itself. The woman he had built his life around, the woman he had trusted with his soul, was not who he thought she was. A stranger had taken her place. That night, Clara returned home humming a tune, unaware that the life she had crafted so carefully had already begun to fall apart. She stepped inside and saw Daniel sitting alone, the room dark, her phone gripped tightly in his hand. His face, haunted and hollow, was enough to strip her of all pretense. She opened her mouth, perhaps to lie, perhaps to explain. But Daniel didn't need words. He had already heard enough, felt enough. His voice, when it finally emerged, was barely more than a whisper, raw and broken. Asterisk, how could you? Asterisk, He wasn't the same man anymore. Not the one who would have done anything for her. That man had died the moment her betrayal touched his heart. What was left behind was a quiet ruin. A man who had loved fully and been undone by it. I gave you everything. I trusted you. Daniel's voice trembled with a quiet devastation. Not rage, not accusation. Just a hollow ache that cut deeper than any scream ever could. Clara's tears began to fall. Not crocodile tears or rehearsed regret, but raw and real, heavy with the weight of 1,000 lies. Yet they came far too late. Her sorrow could no longer touch the heart she had shattered. She had played with fire, thinking she could control its blaze. But now the flames were everywhere, consuming not only the illusion of love, but the man who once lived and breathed for her. Daniel rose slowly from the couch, each movement deliberate, heavy like a man walking through ash after a home has burned to the ground. He didn't speak again. He didn't need to. Silence now said more than any word could. He walked out the door without looking back, without even knowing where his feet would carry him. All he knew was he couldn't stay in that house anymore. That house they once called a home. Now it was just a place where trust had died. He wandered the quiet streets of the town, like a ghost still trapped in the world of the living. The same streets where he once held Clara's hand, now echoed beneath his steps like hollow reminders of a life that no longer felt like his. His mind was a storm, memories clashing against disbelief, heartbreak drowning hope. It felt as though something inside him had died the moment he saw those messages. Something essential, something sacred. Daniel became a shadow of the man he used to be. His eyes, once full of warmth and depth, grew distant and glassy. He stopped eating. Sleep eluded him. Days blurred into nights, and nights into endless darkness. People saw him and nodded, but he never seemed to really be there. He walked, talked, and breathed, but the Daniel they knew had vanished. And Clara remained in that house, haunted by echoes of what she had destroyed. Guilt became her only companion. She tried calling him, tried texting, writing letters, even visiting the places he used to go, but he was unreachable now. Not physically, emotionally. He had built a wall so high and so cold around his heart that not even her sincerest apologies could scale it. She hadn't just betrayed his love. She had ended something inside him, something irreplaceable. Then, one quiet night, Daniel disappeared. No one saw him leave. No one heard a car. No note was left for his family. No explanation for the world, except for one simple message on a torn piece of paper, found on his bedside table. Asterisk, I died the day I found out the truth. Asterisk, his body was never found. Some whispered that it drowned in the lake where he and Clara once spent lazy summer evenings. Others believed he had simply walked away into the wilderness, choosing solitude over suffering. But those who truly knew him understood the deeper truth. Daniel had died long before he ever disappeared. His soul had been quietly buried the moment he realized the love he had built his world around had never truly existed. Clara lived on. She existed in the ruins of what they once shared, replaying memories like old tapes that couldn't be rewound. She would often sit by the lake in silence, staring at the endless blue as if hoping it would give her back a piece of what she had lost. The guilt, the regret, the weight of her choices clung to her like a second skin. Every smile she forced was a lie. Every morning she woke up was a reminder that she had killed something beautiful. Years passed, but Clara never moved on, not really. Love had become a ghost she could never touch again. She had learned, too late, that love isn't something to be played with. It's delicate. It's sacred. And once it's broken, truly broken, it doesn't mend. Not in the way we want it to. And Daniel, he became a name that people whisper with sadness. A cautionary tale of a man who gave too much of himself to someone who didn't know how to receive it. A reminder that love, when pure, is a rare and fragile thing. And when it is betrayed, sometimes the body lives on, but the soul does not.